Our Basic Education Minister N.G. Mochecha has called the media to share in some tough decision taken in conjunction with the MECs from across the country. She recently held a one-day meeting with the other heads of education. Now let's go live to the presser.
To ensure that we don't have another leak this year as we did, unfortunately, last year in Limpopo. So all storage points across the country will be audited to ensure that they meet the minimum security standards. Storage points also that do not comply with will not be allowed to store papers. So again, our exam committee has gone around all provinces to ensure that indeed all provinces have proper security measures. And again, we had a report on the learner readiness in terms of content matters. So myself and the Director General have been moving throughout all the provinces. On Friday, we're in Gauteng, and the last province that we'll be visiting will be Limpopo, but we've been to all the other 8 provinces to also look at the state of readiness in the provinces. And again, we normally use September to prepare for the next year, again, to check the plans and preparations that provinces are making for 2017. So we've seen some provinces tracking learner performance data from the beginning of the year, and we are confident that by the time learners sit for the final exams, they'll be adequately prepared. They also took us through plans that they had for learners that we had said should be condoned, and learners that we said should be encouraged to have multiple opportunities of writing their exams. Again, we have full statistics. Who are these learners? How are they performing? Who are those that will be given multiple opportunities? And who are those that will write full exams? Part of our duty again as government is carrying and monitoring interventions relating to the well-being of our learners, because it has become one of the major issues in the sector. The psychosocial economic realities of our country mean that schools are valuable centers of support with ever-increasing demands on our educators. And these include high rates of unemployment and poverty, high rates of HIV and tuberculosis, infection, crime, orphanhood, violence, and child abuse. On Thursday, we got a report which was reminding us or confirming that as a sector, we have more than 10% of our learners in the system who are double orphans, no mother, no father. So it means more than 1 million learners in the system who don't have both parents. And we also were able to trace what caused this sudden increase. And it was confirmed that it was the earlier deaths before the rollout of ARVs that had resulted now in a huge uptake or upturn of learners with double orphans in the system. And it is a major threat because it means they're dealing with kids who are extremely vulnerable, but who also need lots of support. So we therefore we've undertaken to review and strengthen our psychosocial support for learners. And with the approval of CEM of the new policy, national policy on HIV, of sexually transmitted disease of tuberculosis, we agreed that on the 20th of May that there's an urgent need to massively improve the sexual and reproductive health education and services of adolescents in our schools, in response also to the campaign for girls and young women launched by the Deputy President in June this year. It has become very necessary for the department to once again refocus the HIV and AIDS life skill and education program, because a number of reports also do reflect that there are problems. I mean, even the last report from the HIV and AIDS program did confirm that we are experiencing problems. The report that we got on Thursday was reminding us, which came from the AIDS conference, that of 2,000 new infections of 17 and 25-year-olds monthly. And we felt that there's something, we have to do something quite urgently to protect our learners. But also the ongoing problem about teenage pregnancy in our schools. It is, again, a problem that this program has to help us deal with. The other issue that came at the CEM meeting is about gangsterism and its impact on school violence in our schools. Many of the provincial MECs raised concerns over the growing challenges relating to gangsterism in schools. This is more than coupled with the prevalence of drugs and substance abuse, alcohol in our schools. So gangsterism is having a severe negative impact on the education system, and it must be reiterated that violence and drugs cannot be tolerated at schools at all. Schools must use the tools they have at their disposal to address this matter. But CEM also requested me to meet with my counterpart from the Minister of Police to help us strengthen our response around violence, drugs, and gangsterism in our schools. And we need, the CEM said we need to work together with our communities also to ensure that schools are safer places of teaching and learning. We cannot let our schools denigrate into facilities that become dangerous for learners and teachers. And it will take our involvement to ensure that this does not happen. And we cannot leave it to schools to fight this battle alone. It is a societal problem. We also reflected on the SACMEC report. SACMEC is your Southern and Eastern African Consortium Monitoring and Education Quality Study, which is a study of 15 SADC and Southern. So it's your SADC and your Southeastern African countries, are 15 of them. So we participate in SACMEC. The final report will be released has not been released, but as DBE, we had to give the interim report to the portfolio committee. And unfortunately, the media has it all, is busy commenting on, it's not the final report. We presented this report to the Basic Education Portfolio Committee, and it was a preliminary report, and we did make that clear. We are meeting with SACMEC on the 22nd of September, so next week, in a bid to conclude the process relating to the release of the results. And we will officially and formally release the report. Because it's very important for us to ensure that the data we use is of utmost integrity. We also reflected on school infrastructure. And want to report that we have, from the reports, it's quite clear that we have made immense progress in the delivery of school infrastructure across the country. And it is important for us that we profile what we have done and will continue to do, and what we're going to continue to do to change the education landscape and restore dignity to our learners. That's why as a department, we have set ourselves a target to deliver basic services as per the requirement of the national norms and standards of school infrastructure. And these norms and standards are meant to ensure that we create a conducive environment for learning by ensuring that all schools have adequate structures and that they get basic services like electricity, water, and sanitation. As a department, we continue to unveil the state-of-the-art schools every week, built or refurbished at a cost of between 35 million and 50 million. And these schools have been built or refurbished as part of an accelerated school infrastructure delivery initiative, which was established with the purpose of eradicating and replacing schools built in their entirety from inappropriate material to provide basic services to schools that previously had none. So those will be schools built with mud, planks, corrugated iron, and some shack schools were that way, and even asbestos. So since the program and its inceptions, the initiative has led to the completion of just 170 schools out of the targeted 510 schools around the country, with 126 of them in the Eastern Cape, and half of these schools from this 510 being at different stages of completion. So we also, this ASIDI program also looks at the provision of water and sanitation, and we can say 615 schools have been provided with water, 418 with decent sanitation, and 307 with electricity. And from the report I received from managers was that between 2016 and 2017, by the end of 2017, we will have no school without proper sanitation, water, and security. And that we are monitoring also as a sector. As I said, ASIDI above all, other schools that, as I say, there are also schools that have been refurbished by the provinces, and the ones that I'm reporting on are the only ones that are being done by national. But let me conclude by confirming the disturbing news that we received last night about the burning down of a school in Malamulela in Limpopo. Last year, the administration block was torched at the same school. And the destruction of school infrastructure in this manner undermines the progress we're making in this area of our work because
That's the Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, as she addresses on the presser on the problems or rather issues that are faced with the schools and education. She spoke about the issues of drugs and alcohol abuse in schools that threaten the learning process. Now, she also spoke about a meeting on counterpart with the police on working together with the police and the community regarding the school problems, or rather the problems that are faced by these teenagers. She also spoke about right there on provisions of water and sanitation, and say that by 2017 all schools would have water and sanitation, or rather be provided with these things. She spoke about the Eastern Cape and also Limpopo with the recent problems that happened in Limpopo in the Vuwani school with the school that was torched, and also with the Eastern Cape where the schools, some of the school children are studying under the trees, or rather still going to schools that are still built up with mud.